everything is on the table. It's Relationship Theory with Tina Laws.
Welcome back to Relationship Theory, where we talk about all things relationships and no topic is off the table. So before we went on break, we were speaking about a few things with Mr. and Mrs. Powerhouse Academy, Darren and Kima. We were speaking about when a significant other decides to take that entrepreneurship leap. And we talked about what Darren felt when Kima came home and told him she was done, and she burst into tears. And during break, Kima had mentioned something that Darren forgot. So I want to pick up on that.
Mm-hmm. So not only was I in tears just over the whole incident, but Darren also stopped speaking to me for a couple of days, which brought on more tears because I'm so used to him supporting me in things that I do. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is the right decision. But I just had that gut feeling, and I knew no matter what, I'm sticking to it. I'm going forward. But that was a trying time for us, right?
Definitely.
So what would you say was going through your mind when she said that to you?
I don't think it was actually when she told me she was going to do it, I think it was because when she initially said it, I was trying to be supportive emotionally. I'm like, okay, thinking again, this will pass. She'll get over this. She'll come back to her senses. I think once she actually submitted her resignation, I was angry at first, and I'm like, are you for real? Like, how are we going to survive? What we think or view as a secure income that's coming in on a regular basis. I'm like, Kima, well, I know you have clients and everything, but we haven't built it up enough, to where we can say we're making this much each and every month. So there was a lot of fear, I think. And yeah, I didn't speak. I couldn't even look at her. I'm like, Kima, this is nobody just jumps up and does this. You're being too impulsive. Are you crazy? Like, but
sorry,
yeah,
newsflash. That's what we do.
Yeah.
And so when you decided to come around, once the fear wore off, and because I think you said, some people say anger, but I do agree it was fear. It was fear that, you love to travel, you love to eat out, you love to spend time with family and friends, you love to do great things. So I know I'm thinking initially, like my husband did, how are we now going to be able to support these extra needs? And so with that, I want to ask, when you did decide to come around and say, okay, let me get with my wife and talk about what it is that she wants to do, what was your thoughts when you resumed speaking to your wife? What was your thoughts? How did that conversation go?
Well, I think she had made the decision. Actually, she had made the decision years before. In fact, the year before, which Kima forgot to say, she was actually the deputy principal, and she gave that up. And I'm like, but Kima, that's X amount of dollars that we're giving up every month, blah, blah, blah. How are you going to make that up? And she's like, well, we can do it with Powerhouse Academy. And I'm like, okay. And so we went through that first year, and we didn't even feel it. I'm like, okay. But that's when I sort of knew she's really serious because she was devoting more of her time that she was spending doing deputy stuff. Now she could focus on Powerhouse.
So was that a sense of confidence or relief when you reflect? Because earlier you spoke about how her work ethic is, and as I'm knowing you love for years, we know you. I'm just talking to you now. I'm not talking about myself, but we know that you go hard. You go hard for work, and so knowing her reputation with that. What did you think when you said, okay, she's going to walk away from this? This is going to be her business, our business. How are we going to manage our marriage and our business, because we have to grow it and we want to get it to where she wants it to be? Did you have a sense of nervousness, or did you have a sense of nervousness for your marriage even, or that things might take a flip for the worse, knowing that she's got to dedicate or devote so much time on building this business?
Not at all, because once she started and relinquished the deputy responsibilities, and she started making, I'm like, well, you know what, that fear, no matter how irrational it might have been, because that's just a reaction. I then started thinking, well, this could work. And as the money started coming in, and clients were coming in, I'm like, okay.
So, and was it that her work ethics made you feel comfortable knowing that she's not going to give up? She's going to fight and make this business what it's supposed to be?
Well, I'm sure, as all entrepreneurs go through, you have not only your spouse but other people on the outside, and I wanted to be supportive, because any success she has is our success. It's not just about her or me, but the relationship, our marriage was never a thought of, this could ruin our marriage. I'm like,
Yes.
we will find a way to make it work, because she's got everyone saying, Kim, that's crazy. Like, you spent your entire life getting this education after 20 years. And I'm like, okay, Darren, I knew I had to be okay with it. And being okay with it for me was supporting and giving 110% of what I could bring to the table to support, to ensure our success.
So did you want to add anything to that before we go on break? Because we know Darren might leave something out again.
I'm sure I did.
So you spoke about how you felt. How did that make you feel? Because as you said, Darren's always been supportive of you. And so for him not to speak or to go to that length, did that make you flip-flop a bit and say, did I make the right decision, or should I be doing this?
Initially, it was a very lonely time. And like I can still feel it. So there were not very many people that I knew who were doing what I was doing. And most people focused on the success that I had. Even when I resigned as deputy, people were like, who does that? Like, that's almost going backwards. But I think that was just really preparing myself for what was to come. And when things worked out, resigning as deputy, I thought, I think everything's going to work out with the next step as well. But it was definitely a very dark and lonely time, because the people that support me the most, the people that I go to when I have a problem, or the people who are my greatest cheerleaders, were not cheerleading me on. They just couldn't see what I saw.
Yes. And so, yes, that's so true. That's so, I just resonate with that. But
Sorry.
but I know how she feels. But all of that being said, when was the turning point for you to say, you know what? Powerhouse Academy, this is it. And rather Darren comes around, because you knew he doesn't come around, right? But rather Darren comes around today, or my auntie comes around tomorrow, or Sarah comes around next week, this is what I'm going to focus on, no matter what. When did you get to that point? Because you didn't have the support for the couple of days or the week or whenever you thought you needed it. How did you get to the point of, you know what, I'm doing what I feel best to do for us as our business?
I think it's because I've been doing so much work on myself that, like, when that inner voice comes, I know, like, this is your time. So it was just that sense of knowing, like, it's something that I cannot describe or I cannot explain. It was just a knowing.
Yeah.
And I just knew that everything was going to work out no matter what. And initially I thought I had to prove something. So I'm like, I'm going to prove him wrong. I'm going to prove everybody else, everybody who was against me, I'm going to prove them wrong. And then it was, no, I'm just following what I've been called to do.
Yes, that's so nice. So Darren, did you ever so we got through the initial phase of it, right? And so now it's all the hard work. Just up all late hours and weekends and days and doing all the things which we have to do as entrepreneurs is nonstop. And you want to go out to dinner, or you want to sit or have a glass of wine, or you want to snuggle up on the couch, but you know she's not going to do it. Not because she don't want to spend time with you, but because she has a deadline. How did you manage that?
It really wasn't an issue. It was somewhat of an issue. Usually she's the early morning person. She was always up 5 a.m. and I would be the late night person. So now it's switching. I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, oh, can you be quiet? I'm doing this. Or she'll have a client and I'm like, nah, you're infringing on my space. This is my time. This is usually my area for this hour. But we worked it out. It's not like that wasn't a real major challenge, I don't think.
But it was a challenge.
Yeah, initially.
I think it's different, I think, when people work 9 to 5 and they only work 9 to 5. But I've never just worked 9 to 5. So the hours really didn't change, if that makes sense. Like, I've always worked quite a bit. And lately I've been just really creating ways to do things that help me to feel free. So if anything, I'm listening to that calling. All right, you want to go out? We'll go out. But it was before that where he just didn't have my time.
Right.
When I was working, he No, he knew when grades were being done. We're not even having a conversation right now, or we're not going out to eat. Like my whole family just understood my work system, and if it was just before school was going to start, like Kina is unavailable.
So now that you just gotten across that stage, because the initial shock of it all, thank goodness, is worn off, right? And so now, how are you more intentional about making time for each other?
Actually, I think with her transition to working for us, a lot of the time that was spent weekends in the classroom or whatever, and my volunteer job, I called it. We'll now go and have lunch or dinner or something on the weekend and discuss business. We seem to be able to do that more when we're outside of home. So we make it a point of having a business lunch every weekend.
So that's interesting. So as a couple, you also take time to have business meetings at lunch.
Yes.
So with that, we'll be right back.
Relationship Theory. We'll be right back after these messages.